Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you so much for your association. We'll get started with the Bhakti Vaibhav session. We are in Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 2, chapter number 7. Let's offer our prayers of Mangalachakam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtipraeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahim Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shundavadi Paschatya Deshakarana Vancha Kalpatarupescha Kripasindhu Varevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Guruve Gaura Chandrai Radhikaya Kadale Krishna Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Ananda Leela Maya Vigrahaya Hemavati Vyachavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Mukam Karoti Vachalo Pangam Vandayate Girim Yat Kripahatam Ham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you once again for your association. So we are in canto number 2 and in chapter number 7. This chapter entitled is Scheduled Incarnations of the Supreme Lord with Specific Functions. So, after describing about the creation, maintenance, and the annihilation part of this universe, Lord Brahma, this conversation which is going on between Lord Brahma and Narada, Lord Brahma decided to talk about the Leela avatars of the Supreme Lord. And in talking about the Leela avatars, he basically talked about various avatars like Guna avatara, Leela avatara, Manvantara avatara. And of course, he talked about his various functions also. So Lord Brahma talked about Varaha avatar. Then he talked about Suyagna, also known as Yagna, the son of Ruchi and Akriti. Then he talked about Lord Kapila, who is the son of Devahuti and Kardama. Then he talked about Dattatreya, son of Archi and Anusuya. Talked about 4 Kumaras, Narnarayan Rishi, Krishna Garva, Prithu, Hayagriva, Rishabdev, Kurma Avatar, Matsya Avatar, Narsimha Avatar. We talked about Parshuram. We talked about Lord Hari, Vamana Dev, Dhanvantri, Manvantara Avatar, Ramachandra. And then he talked about Krishna. He also talked about Buddha, Kalki, and finally the Guna avatars, that is, he himself, Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva. So this way, after talking about this very, very sweet episode of describing Krishna's avatars, then Lord Brahma felt incompetent. He said that actually no one can describe Lord's greatness. If somebody in this universe can say, well, I can count the atoms, the scientist can claim that I can count the atoms of this universe, then Brahma says that it's still possible, which is actually impossible. But he says that actually this is still possible. But talking about Krishna's greatness, his vibhutis, it's impossible. Even Lord Shesha, who is describing with his unlimited mouths, millions of mouths, even he cannot reach to the limit of describing Lord's glories. But he says that yes, though it is very difficult to know about the Supreme Lord, to talk about his glories in full, but still, somehow, only the surrendered souls, the souls who have surrendered to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, can know a little bit about the Supreme Lord. And that too by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. When the Supreme Lord bestows mercy on such surrendered devotees, then they can somehow understand the Supreme Lord. So after this, we will be continuing. After saying this, Brahma now shares. He shares the list of those devotees who are considered to be the surrendered devotees, and they can know about that Supreme Lord. So this is text number 43 to 45. Let's continue. वेदाहमङ्गपरमस्य हि योगमायाम् यूयं भवश्च भगवानथ दैत्यवर्या पत्नी मनोस च मनुश्च तदात्मजश्च प्राचीन बर्हिर्भुरङ्ग उता ध्रुवश्च इक्ष्वाकुरैलमुचुकुन्दविदेहगादि राघवम्बरीशसागरागयनाहुषाद्य मान्धात्रलर्कशतधन्वनुरन्ति देवा देवाव्रतो बलिरमुतरय दिलीपा सौभार्युतङ्कशिबिदेवलपिप्पलाधा सारस्वतोऽथव पराशरभूरिषेण ये अन्नविभीषणा हनुमदुपेन्द्रदत्ता पार्थाशितिशेन विदुराश्रुतदेववर्या. So Lord Brahma, he lists all the surrendered devotees and starting himself, he says, Vedaham. I myself, O Narada, try to understand that I myself, along with you, we know the Supreme Lord along with Yoga Maya, along with his Shaktis. So knowing just about the Supreme Lord is not enough. Knowing about the Supreme Lord along with his different Shaktis, his Antaranga Shaktis, Bahiranga Shaktis, Tatastha Shakti, is actually the complete knowledge of the Supreme Lord. And he says that all these great personalities, these are all the names of the great personalities, they all know all this about Supreme Lord. Somebody can read the translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Kanwar Pranams. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. O Narada, although the potencies of the Lord are unknowable and immeasurable, still, because we are all surrendered souls, we know how he acts through Yogamaya potencies. And similarly, the potencies of the Lord are also known to be all powerful Shiva, the great king of the atheist family, namely Prahlad Maharaj, Swayambhuva Manu, his wife Satyarupa, His sons and daughters like Priyavrata, Uttanpad, Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti, Prachina Bari, Ribhu, Ribhu, is it Ribhu, Mataji?
Yes, Rishabdev, Ribhu.
Okay. Ribhu, Anga, the father of Vena, Maharaj Dhruva, Ishwaku, Aila, Muchukunda, Maharaj Janak, Gadhi, Raghu, Amrisha, Sagara, Gaya Nahusha, Mandhata, Alarka, Satadhanve, Anu, Rantideva, Bhishma, Bali, Amur, Amut, Amurtaraya, Dilipa, Saubari, Uttanaka, Shibi, Devala, Pipalada, Saraswata, Uddhava, Parashara, Bhurisena, Vibhishana, Hanuman, Sukadev Goswami, Arjuna, Arstisena, Vidura, Shrutadeva, etc. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. So this way, Lord Brahma, he lists out all these great devotees. Prabhupada writes, all the great devotees of the Lord, as mentioned above, who flourished in the past or present, and all the devotees of the Lord who will come in the future, are aware of the different potencies of the Lord, along with the potency of his name, quality, pastimes, entourage, personality, etc. Now the question comes, how do they know? Definitely not by their mental speculation, because with mental speculation or with our own senses, it is very hard. By the limited instruments of knowledge, like the senses of material instruments, like microscopes and telescopes, one cannot even fully know the material potencies of the Lord, then what to talk about the Supreme Lord, which are manifested before our eyes. For example, there are millions and billions of planets so far beyond the scientist calculation. But these are only the manifestations of the Lord's material energy. What can the scientist hope to know? They can only use ifs and buts and maybes. We know that how the scientist, their theory also changes every day. Previously, Pluto was considered to be one of the 9 planets, and now it is not. So this is a change. This is the change that is there in the science. And this is not avayam. This is not eternal. This is not sanatan. This is not true. And the sane person therefore ceases to speculate with their own tiny brain. Rather, it's better to surrender unto the Supreme Lord, who can lead one to the platform of real knowledge. It is clearly said in the Upanishads that the Supreme Personality of Godhead can never be known simply by working hard and taxing the good brain, nor can he be known simply by mental speculation or jugglery of words. And how one can understand? Only and only by one who is a surrendered soul, by surrendering unto the Supreme Lord, and that too by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, one can know about the Supreme Lord. Herein, Brahmaji, the greatest of all material living beings, acknowledges this truth. Therefore, the fruitless spoiling of energy by pursuing the path of experimental knowledge must be given up. One should gain knowledge by surrendering unto the Lord and acknowledging the authority of the persons mentioned here. Mahajena Gatasa Pantha. So we should follow in the footsteps of these great Mahajans, and they know about the Supreme Lord, and they have also heard from their disciplic succession. So then only we can know. The Lord is unlimited, and by the grace of Yoga Maya, helps the surrendered soul to know Him proportionately, not fully. That too, after surrendering also, one cannot know fully about the Supreme Lord. Definitely, it's not possible. Even the personality like Sheshanag cannot know then what to talk about reconditioned souls. But when we surrender, then proportionally with our advancement of surrender, one can know about that Supreme Lord. So basically, everything boils down that The more you surrender, the more Krishna will grace you with his mercy, and the more he will reveal it to you. So this is a revelation. That's why it says, Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito, that this transcendental knowledge cannot be acquired in any academic school or college or any university. It has to be revealed in the heart of that devotee. And how that is revealed? That is revealed by the mercy of the Supreme Lord that comes through the mercy of one's spiritual master. So that is the only way in the disciplic succession, bona fide spiritual master. And only that way one can understand the Supreme Lord. It has to be revealed in the heart of that devotee. So then after this describing that how surrendered devotees can know and listing out these different devotees, now question may come that, oh, that means the only surrendered devotees can know about that Supreme Lord. And then what to talk about the sinful jivas? Can they never know? Then our Brahma, he talks that even the lower persons, even the Papa jivas can also know about the Supreme Lord, provided they achieve the Lord's mercy. Te vai vedanti atitarne cha deva mayam Stri Shudra Huna Sabara Api Papa Jiva Yad Adbhuta Krama Parayana Shila Shikshas Triyajana Api Kim Usurshutta Dharanyaye. So here our Lord Brahma is saying that yes, all these devotees that I have mentioned, undoubtedly, Vedanti atitharanti deva mayam, they can know about the Supreme Lord. They can know about the Yogamaya Shakti of the Supreme Lord. But also the devotees like Stri, Shudra, Purna, Sabara, Api Papa Jiva. Papa Jiva are the sinful people. Shabaras are the tribal class. Purna refers to the mountaineers, those who live in the mountains. Shudra refers to the labor class, and Stri refers to the woman. Even they can understand the Supreme Lord, provided Adbhuta Krama Parayana, if their acts are wonderful and they are Krama Parayana, means they are also the devotees. Their behavior is that they always look for their own, their Krama Parayana, like we have Vasudev Parayana, we have Narayan Parayana. But yadi adbhuta krama parayanashil. If they are krama parayanashil, then they can get this shiksha, they can be trained by. And then not only they, but triyak jana, even those who are not even human beings, can even know about the Supreme Lord if they are bestowed the mercy of the Supreme Lord. If all they can be achieved, then what to talk about apikim ushrutadharanate, then what to talk about those who have already taken shelter of Lord Shri Krishna by shruta, by hearing about the Lord's qualities and pastimes. Yes, somebody can read the translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Surrendered soul, even from groups leading sinful lives, such as women, the labor class, the mountaineers, and the Siberians, or even the birds and the beasts, can also know about the signs of Godhead and become liberated from the clutches of the illusory energy by surrendering unto the pure devotees of Lord and by following in their footsteps in devotional service.
Jai, thank you, Mataji. So what is the point is? The point is that they have to become a krama parayanashil. Their behavior is that they should also try to follow the footsteps of the great devotees. They should also follow in the footsteps of devotional service. Then even they can also achieve, and tetananti means they can also cross over this material world. So women, Shudras, Hunas, Shabaras, and all the sinful people, Papa Jivas, They can cross this material world and they can also learn the qualities of the Supreme Lord. And what to talk about them? They are at least humans. Even if animals can understand, then how more quickly can humans, those who hear from the bona fide spiritual master, can understand the Lord? So we see that even animals were chanting Krishna's name when Mahaprabhu bestows their mercy and he was on his way to Vrindavan and he was crossing that Jharkhand forest. So all the animals, they were chanting Krishna's name and they were all in ecstasy along with Mahaprabhu. Now what was that? Were the animals trained? No, it was simply the mercy of the Supreme Lord. It was simply the mercy of Mahaprabhu that he bestowed freely, even on the animals, that even animals got Krishna prema. So this is the magnanimity of Krishna's mercy. Prabhupada writes, sometimes there are inquiries as to how one can surrender unto the Supreme Lord. Okay, one more thing I would like to point out before I go with the purport. That in translation, Prabhupada says, surrendered souls, even from the group leading sinful lives, such as women, the laborer class. So this point, sometimes those who are feminists by nature, they say that why Srila Prabhupada used these words, that the women lead a sinful life. Are all women sinful? So actually this is not. Srila Jiva Goswami points out that this has to be read separately. Stri, Shudra, Puna, Sabara, and Papa Jiva means sinful people. So all these are not categorized in the list of sinful jivas, but sinful jiva has its own separate category. Like we see the example of Jagai and Madar. They were very sinful. But how, when Nityananda Prabhu decided that I have to make them Mahabhagavats, then nobody can stop. And finally, we see in Chaitanya Charitamrita that how they became the recipient of Nityananda's Prabhu mercy, and along with Nitay's, they got the mercy of Mahaprabhu. And then same Jagai and Madhai became Jagdananda and Madhvananda. And now they became such a pure Vaishnavas that it is said that after seeing them, there is no need to take any Ganga bath. Just having their darshan, it is expected that you have taken Ganga bath, that you have taken a dip in Ganga. How pure they were when Nityananda Prabhu thought that, oh, I will make them into pure Vaishnavas. So they are the examples of Papa Jivas. So this is how we have to understand. Sometimes there are inquiries as to how one can surrender unto the Supreme Lord. So in Bhagavad Gita, we know this famous verse, Sardharman Parityaja. The Lord asked Arjun to surrender. And therefore, persons unwilling to do so, they question where the Lord is and whom and why they should surrender. The answer to such questions or inquiries is given herein very properly. The Supreme Personality of Godhead may not be present before our eyes, but if one is sincere in wanting such guidance, then he will send a bona fide spiritual master who can guide him properly back home, back to Godhead. This is the common question people say. Oh, for Arjun, it was easy to surrender because Krishna was personally present before him. He was guiding the Pandavas at every step of their life. But how about us? We Kali-yugi Jivas, now Krishna, we cannot find Krishna. Krishna is no more doing his manifested pastimes in this Kali-yuga. So how can we know that whatever I'm doing it is guided by Krishna or not? Yes, that is a very valid question. And therefore, Prabhupada says that if we surrender wholeheartedly unto the Supreme Lord, then the Supreme Lord will send his bona fide representative. He will send one bona fide spiritual master in our life who will tell us that whether all our activities, all our dealings are in aligned to Krishna consciousness or not. And he will show us the path to go home back to Godhead. There is no need for any material qualifications for making progress. In the material world, when one accepts some particular type of service, he is required to possess some particular type of qualification also. Very true. If you are not qualified, you cannot pass the interview and you will not get a job. Without this, one is unfit for any service. But in devotional service of the Lord, the only qualification required is surrender. Sharanagati. And Sharanagati itself is in one's own hand. Nobody can force you to do Sharanagati. And it doesn't take time. It can immediately be offered without any delay. That's why once when Prabhupada was in the West, somebody asked Prabhupada, how much time does it take for one to become Krishna conscious? What does it mean? He was asking that how I will become Krishna conscious. And Prabhupada says the time taken is 1 minute. Why? Because it is just the process of surrender. Once you have surrendered, once your heart has surrendered unto the Supreme Lord, there is no more to do. Only thing is surrender, and it is in one's own hand. Therefore, it takes only a minute that we can decide, okay, from here onwards, I surrender, and so be it. And then, if one surrenders immediately without delay, his life, spiritual life begins, and that's it. And then it's just merely walking on this path. The bona fide spiritual man, the representative of God, is as good as God himself. Sakshat Ritvena Samasta Shastre. Or in other words, the loving representative of the Lord is actually more kind and more easy to approach. A sinful soul cannot approach the Lord directly. For in Jagai and Madai, it was very difficult to approach to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But such a sinful man can easily approach a pure devotee of the Lord. They were easily approachable to Nityananda Prabhu. Why? Because Nityananda Prabhu was given this task by Mahaprabhu to go to every door and knock at the door and give Krishna prem to everyone. And if one agrees to put himself under the guidance of such a devotee, then he can understand the science of God, can also become the transcendental pure devotee of the Lord, and thus get his liberation back home to Backwardhead for eternal happiness. So in a nutshell, what is the path? The only path to know about the Supreme Lord is not your own material qualification, that on what level we are, but the only qualification needed is to know about the Supreme Lord, is surrendering unto that Supreme Lord. Once we surrender, then our process of spiritual progress begins. So realization of the science of Godhead and relief from the unnecessary useless struggle for existence are not at all difficult for the willing candidate, but they are difficult for persons who are not surrendered souls, but only simple profitless speculators. So the path is not difficult. It is in our own hand. We are the one who are not leaving Maya. We are the one who are rejecting the Maya. And we are the one who are not ready to surrender unto the Supreme Lord. So whose fault it is? It is our fault. Thank you, Praladananda Prabhu, for quoting various verses from different scriptures. Yes, Prabhuji, Praladananda.
Mataji, regarding this feminist you were saying about, that those who are criticizing that women are also included in this group. But this is the right way you explained how to take this. All women are not like that. Our mothers are so pious. And Kunti Mata, Devahuti Mata, Draupadi, Uttara, all are great devotees of Lord Sri Krishna. How can they be classified? So women, as such, if you take all are women, all conditioned souls are Prakruti. Prakruti is feminine. Right? So all conditioned souls, they are, and if you look at even the embryology, I have studied embryology, first of all the fetuses are female. Only those which are chromosized by Y chromosome, they later on in the pregnancy turn into the males like that. So women as such are not designated as papioni, as some people can misinterpret. Because women all are conditioned souls, and they have this tendency, loke vyavaya amis madhya seva nitya jantur 11th canto talks like that. So it is only a matter of understanding through parampara that, women as such are mothers and who are pious. Only those who are kind of, have got material illicit desires, they are the ones which are popular. Just I wanted to share that, Mata.
Very true. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Very true. Once Govinda Mataji, she was with Srila Prabhupada in one of the room conversation. And there also, Srila Prabhupada said that women are less intelligent. And Govinda Mataji was looking at Srila Prabhupada with a very disheartened face, that she was saying that why Prabhupada is making such statement that women are less intelligent. And she was sitting just next to Srila Prabhupada, beside Prabhupada. And Prabhupada looked at her, and Prabhupada understood that what's going on in her heart. And Prabhupada said, yes, women are less intelligent, but I'm talking about women. I'm not talking about Vaishnavis. You are a great Vaishnavi. So I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about those women who have not yet surrendered to the Supreme Lord. So very true. We have to understand in the right context. Unnecessary, we cannot just see one sentence of Srila Prabhupada without understanding the context, and we blame such things. That should not be done. Text 47. So after describing about the surrendered devotees who surrendered unto the Supreme Lord can know the Lord, now Lord Brahma, he wants to also give the description. What about those who are Paramatma and Brahman realized? How to understand those jnanis and yogis? In this regard, he talks about this verse. Shashvat prashantam abhayam pratibodhamatram Shuddham samam sadasata paramatma tattvam Shabdo nayatra purukarakavan kriyartho Maya pratita bhimukhe cha vilajjamana Tadvai padam bhagavata paramasya pumso Brahmeti yad vidurajasra sukham vishokam. This verse is little technical, but very simple to understand, and it's all because of Srila Prabhupada's purport. So let's read the verse and then we'll go into this. Yes, somebody can read the translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji. What is realized as the absolute Brahman is full of unlimited bliss without grief. That is certainly the ultimate phase of the Supreme Enjoyer, the personality of Godhead. He is eternally void of all disturbance and is fearless. He is complete consciousness as opposed to matter, uncontaminated and without distinctions. He is the principal, primeval cause of all causes and effects, in whom there is no sacrifice of fruitive activities, and in whom the illusional energy does not stand.
Yeah, thank you so much. So now Lord Brahma has already revealed about those who are the worshippers of Bhagavan. Okay, he has already described. But now he wants to speak about Paramatma and Brahman realized devotees. So we know that the Lord is revealed according to the person's qualification. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaneti, Shabdete. Now this Paramatma, how to understand? He says that Paramatma, let's understand, he says that first of all, it is Paramatma Tattvam, okay, is Sad Asad, Samam Sad Asad, means from jivas from high to low, whether Brahma, from Brahma to the planet, to the plants, to the small ant, they all have Paramatma in their heart. And Paramatma has its own impartial disposition. He's Samam. Okay? He's Samam Sad Asatah. Whether somebody is Jiva like Brahma, or somebody can be a plant, a soul can be in a plant form or in an ant form. Everyone in the in this Ashashvat Jagat, has Paramatma in their heart. And that Paramatma is the same Paramatma. He is Samam. He is equal to all. He is Shashwat. Shashwat means he is eternal. He is extremely peaceful. Prashantam. He is just sitting. Upadrishta Anumantam. He is sitting in the heart of all those living entities as an overseer and the sanctioner of their activities. He doesn't interfere. He is extremely peaceful. He doesn't get agitated. If the jiva is doing something wrong, the Paramatma doesn't get agitated. He is also fearless. He is abhayam. He is fearless, but the jiva itself is very fearful. But the Paramatma who is sitting along with that soul, the super soul who is sitting with that soul, he is fearless. Then it is described the words pratibodha matram, that he is the one who have that actual knowledge. Pratibodha matra means he is the one who possesses that knowledge. This means that he reveals awareness. He is bodha. And prati and matra refers to fully. So he has the full knowledge and he reveals that full awareness. But what is he waiting for? He is waiting only for the soul to look at him and acknowledge his presence and surrenders unto him. Then he is pure. He is pure. Pratibodha matram shuddham. Yes, he is pure. Samamavatsa Paramatma Tattvam. So this is the Paramatma. So Brahma says, now I have described you. Now I will describe Brahman. That what Brahman is. So Brahman, he says, Shabdona yatra purukarakavan kriyartho. That with one's shabda, you cannot describe, you cannot talk about Brahman. Brahman is just one aspect of the Supreme Lord. And that aspect of the Supreme Lord where Maya parite abhimukha cha vilajamana, that even Maya Devi, she stands bashfully, behind the Lord. So that means Brahman is one aspect of the Supreme Lord. It is that aspect which is without any qualities. It is actually the initial stage of realizing the Supreme Lord. That Supreme Lord who has spiritual variety, form, and qualities. But Brahman is just one aspect. So if somebody is Brahman realized, we cannot say that they are vimukh of Supreme Lord. They know the Supreme Lord, but in incompleteness. They do not have the complete knowledge of the Supreme Lord. That is what is the meaning that we have to understand. And no word can define the Bhagavan who possesses non-material form and qualities. So no words can describe. Shabdona yatra purukarkavan kriyartho tadvai padam bhagavat paramasya pumso. So in this regard, it says that for description of Bhagavan, we cannot take any material thing and compare it with the Supreme Lord. For that Bhagavan Tattva, words cannot define Bhagavan. So in this verse, Lord Brahma has described all three. He has described about Paramatma Tattva, Brahman Tattva, and finally Bhagavan Tattva. He says that Bhagavan, because why words cannot describe? Because he possesses non-material form and qualities. He has form, he has qualities, but doesn't have material qualities. Therefore, Maya also cannot stand before the Lord. Now, well, someone can say that in the scriptures, we see the description of Bhagavan as Megha Shama Kanaka. That how the Supreme Lord's complexion is like a dark cloud and Kanaka Paridhi, and he has the garments as yellow garments, and his eyes is like lotus eyes. These words are described. So how we can now compare? Because on one side we say that the Bhagavan, he doesn't have any material form and qualities. Then how we can compare the beauty or the qualities of the Lord with such descriptions? So in that regard, it is being mentioned that yes, to some degree, such words convey about the about the Lord to people's mind by by comparing it with some material object, such as Meghasham, such as Khanakaparidu. But people become joyful thinking that they are meditating upon the Supreme Lord. That just by seeing the such objects, they feel that they are meditating on the Lord, but in fact, what it is only the semblance of the Lord by their concentration. They only achieve the semblance. The Lord, however, under the control of the waves of his unprecedented mercy, thinks that the devotee is meditating on me. Actually, when we see the gray cloud and we meditate on the Supreme Lord, we get only the semblance of the meditation. But it's Supreme Lord's mercy that he thinks that the person is meditating on me, so he gets an opportunity to bestow his mercy. And then the devotee becomes the recipient of Lord's mercy. And therefore, the Lord, when he bestows his mercy, then the jiva becomes aware of the presence of the Lord. So that's how we have to understand this verse. Okay, Shabdona Yatra. It cannot be defined with any Shabd or any Yatra, this Brahman especially. Because this Brahman is what? It is just the effulgence of the Supreme Lord. There is no active relationships that can describe. Therefore, the Brahman is beyond. Okay, but with the realization of this Brahman, one can get unrestricted happiness also and dissipation of grief. Ajasra Shukam Vishokam. This is also there. And how much more? Imagine if having this Brahman realization and Paramatma realization can dissipate all our material miseries, and can give us unrestricted happiness, Akshaya Sukham. Yes, even those who are Brahman realized, they get this Akshaya Sukham. Why? Because it is the part of the spiritual world only. That is why it is known as Sayujya Mukti, that you are liberated from this cycle of birth and death. But even that aspect, which is an incomplete aspect of the Supreme Lord, can give unrestricted happiness and can dissipate ones from all kinds of miseries. Ajasra Shukam Vishokam. Then what to talk about those who surrender unto the Supreme Lord? Imagine how much more can Bhagavan give. The Supreme Personality. Even if the Brahman realized can get this, then what to talk about those who are Bhagavan realized? So that's the meaning of this verse. So Prabhupada, he elaborates and he says, the supreme enjoyer, the personality of Godhead, is the supreme Brahman or the Samam Bonam because of his being the supreme cause of all causes. The conception of impersonal Brahman realization is the first step. It's the initial initiative due to its distinction from the illusory conception of material existence. Impersonal Brahman is a feature of absolute distinct only from the material variegatedness, just as light is a conception distinct from its counterpart, that is darkness. But the light has its own variegatedness, which is seen by those who further advance in that light. And thus, ultimately, realization of Brahman is the source of that Brahman light. Brahmano hi pratishtha aham. Krishna says that this pratishtha, the fame of Brahman, is because of me. I am there, so Brahman is there, because Brahman is merely the effulgence of the Supreme Lord. Pratibodha matram is just the opposite conception of material existence. In matter, there are material miseries, but Pratibodha matram, he is the knower of all the knowledge. And it can, there is a feeding of eternal existence distinct from the pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease. So even in Brahman, there is an Aksha Sukha. The Supreme Lord is the super soul of everything. Now the Paramatma is described. Just like a father is affectionate to his son, because there is some relationship of nearness between the son and the father. But that sort of affection in the material world is full of limitations. Definitely, not only limitations, but also certain expectations. The relationship between the father and the son in this material existence is based on some expectations, and that's why it has some limitations. But when regards to the Supreme Lord, it is full of affection because of the reality of the affectionate relationship. He is not the object of affection by some material tinges of body and mind. He is full, naked, uncontaminated object of affection for all the living entities because he is the super soul or Paramatma who is situated in the heart of every living entity. And then these words are described that how is Shuddham. The word Shuddham indicates that the senses of the personality of Godhead are not made by any material elements. They are all transcendental. The senses in this world are surcharged with material ignorance, but the senses of the Supreme Lord are without any material conception. Since the activities are unlimited and constantly increasing, there is no scope for material attempts or artificial arrangements. Such happiness of transcendental qualities is called Brahma Saukyam. Yes, there is Ananda even in Brahma, but that Ananda cannot be compared to that Ananda which a devotee gets when he serves the personal form of the Supreme Lord, the Bhagavan form. So this way, Lord Brahma, he describes about the qualities and the aspects of the Supreme Truth. He talks about Paramatma, he talks about Brahman, and he talks about Bhagavan. But he says that those who know about Bhagavan, who are attached to that Bhagavan feature of the Supreme Lord, for them it is not necessary that they have to be Paramatma and Brahman realized. They only know that these are the aspects of the Supreme Lord, but it's not necessary to follow that path. So a Bhakti yogi should not go into the path of Jnana Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. That is what he will explain in the next verse. Sadhranyammayatatoyamakartahetim jahyuswaradivanipanakhanitaram mindra. Somebody can read the translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji. In such a transcendental state, there is no need of artificial control of the mind, mental speculation, or meditation, as performed by the Gyanis and Yogis. One gives up such processes as the heavenly king Indra forgoes the trouble to dig a well.
Thank you, Madhuri. So Jaya Brahma is using a very nice analogy. He is saying those who follow the path of artificial mental speculation and meditation finally give them up. Why? Because now they know this process of Bhakti Yoga. And how they give up? They give up just like the Indra, the demigod of rain. He forgoes the trouble of digging a well. So Prabhupada writes, a poor man in want of water digs a well and undertakes the trouble of digging. Similarly, those who are poor in transcendental realization, they speculate on the mind or meditate by controlling the senses. But they do not know that such control of senses and achievements of spiritual perfection are simultaneously made possible as soon as one is factually engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. So it's not the matter of controlling the senses. It's the matter of engaging the senses. To control the senses, it is very difficult because the senses, we all have those impressions from our past lives, and unnecessary suppressing the senses means that you are artificially suppressing it, but it is not through right intelligence. Okay. Like for the devotees, it is always given that you should stop eating meat, you should not do any kind of intoxication. So now what does the devotee does? He doesn't suppress the senses fully, rather the devotee engages the senses in the service of the Supreme Lord. Vishaya vinavartante niharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. the soul, the embodied soul, they get the higher taste. So they give the higher taste. That is what is engaging the senses in the service of the Lord. If the senses are engaged, then they are automatically controlled. Right? Unnecessary, we don't have to suppress the demands of the senses. Simply, we have to dovetail and engage in the service of the Supreme Lord, which is easier than suppressing. It is for this reason that the great liberated souls also desire to be associated in hearing and chanting the activities of the Lord. The example of Indra is very appropriate in this connection. King Indra, who is the heaven, in heaven, he is what? He is controlling deity of demigod for arranging clouds and supplying rains in the universe. Now, if he is the controlling deity of this, then do you think that he has to take trouble in digging a well to get some pure water for his personal supply? It's foolishness. For him, digging a well for a water supply is simply ludicrous. It's ridiculous. Similarly, those who are factually engaged in the loving service of the Lord and they have attained the ultimate goal of life, that is Krishna Prem, for them there is no need for any mental speculation. And to find out the true nature of the Lord, they don't need to. Nor do such devotees meditate upon the imaginary or the real identity of the Lord, because they are factually engaged in that loving service of the Lord, and they can achieve the desired results just by engaging themselves in the service of the Lord. Right? In Hindi we say कि अगर सीधी उंगली से घी निकल रहा है, then उंगली को टेढ़ी क्यों करना है? Like if the process is easier to know about the Supreme Lord, why we have to follow the cumbersome process? Why we have to take the difficult process? But the people who are in the lower fund of knowledge, as Prabhupada says, poor fund of knowledge, those who are ignorant, they think that, oh, just by Namajap, just by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra can we know the Supreme Lord? Why? Because they don't trust the process. In Kali Yuga, it's actually Naam only. It's only the holy name that can deliver us from these clutches of Maya. In this Kali Yuga, it is there, it is mentioned in the scriptures, it is Shastravani. But those who have no intelligence, they don't believe in such words. And therefore, they use their own mental speculation to know about that Supreme Lord. So, Brahmaji is saying that what is the need? No need to suppress, but only engage your senses in the service of the Lord. Text 49. Sashreyashamapi vibhur bhagavan yatosya bhava swabhava vihitasya sata prasiddhi dehe swadhatu vigamenu vishiryamane vyomeva tatra purusho na vishiryateja. Now Brahmaji, he will be talking about that Bhagavan actually is the ultimate benefactor, not Paramatma, not Brahman. Bhoktaram api tapasyanam, right? It is mentioned that Bhagavan, he is the ultimate benefactor and he can give us all the desired results, even to that soul who has left this body. Why? Because the soul is eternal. Let's read the translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji. The personality of Godhead is the supreme master of everything, auspicious, because the results of whatever actions are performed by the living being in either the material or spiritual existence are awarded by the Lord. As such, he is the ultimate benefactor. Every individual living entity is unborn, and therefore, even after the annihilation of the material elementary body, the living entity exists exactly like the air within the body. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Gaurav. So very nicely here, Prabhupada has given this translation that how the Supreme Lord is the master of everything. And here the personality of Godhead means the Bhagavan rule, the Bhagavan Tattva. And he can give the results of whatever the actions are performed by the living entity. The living entity is unborn and eternal. We know from Bhagavad Gita that the living entity is unborn and it is eternal. The living entity is not exhausted even though the material elementary body is vanquished. As long as the living entity is in this material existence, action performed by him are rewarded in the next life or even in the present life. Similarly, in his spiritual life also, the actions are rewarded by the Lord by the 5 kinds of liberation. What are those 5? Sayuja, Shashti, Sarupya, Samipya, and Salokya. Even the impersonalist cannot achieve the desired merging into the existence of the Lord without being favored by the Supreme Lord. So even if somebody is aspiring for Sayujya Mukti, the Brahman Mukti, even they cannot get it without the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So if there is a Mukti, that means it is awarded by Mukunda only, who is the awarder of all kinds of liberation. And here it is mentioned that as long as the living entities in this material existence, actions performed him are awarded. Similarly, the spiritual life also, actions are awarded by the Lord. The living entity is not exhausted even after the material elementary body is vanquished. Dehe swadhatu vigame. When all the dhatus get disappeared. What are those 7 dhatus? Plasma, blood, muscle, tissue, bones, bone marrow. When all these dhatus are there, then the soul is said to be embodied. But when these dhatus are gone, when a devotee gives up this body, then what happens? When he is separated, even that time the jiva is not dissolved. He is present like an ether in the body. Because the jiva is unborn. And then taking a suitable place under some impression, that bhakta, that devotee, he takes up another body and performs his sadhana. And that sadhana is never left. Swalpapi dharmasya traito marto bharat. Whatever we perform in this life, any spiritual actions is not zeroed down. It is always carried forward. But all the material qualifications become zero for our next life. It's only the spiritual qualification that we get is carried over to the next life. Why? Because the jiva is sanatan, jiva is eternal. It is therefore the duty of everyone to worship devoutly only the personality of Godhead to achieve his desired goal. Then why to become Brahman realized? Why to become Paramatma realized? Ultimately, bestower of our results is Bhagavan. It's through Bhagavan's mercy. See, even if somebody is aspiring for Brahman, and if he attains his Brahman realization, if he attains that position, the perfection of his yoga, that means there is a tinge of bhakti in it. Without bhakti, one cannot get any kind of mukti one aspires for. The devotees, however, they are inclined to become the associates of the Lord. They don't have any desire to merge in the spiritual existence. The devotees have this different relationships of becoming a servitor, friend, father, mother, or a conjugal lover of the Lord. The devotional service of the Lord involves the 9 processes. We know about these 9 processes, and either we can perfect all, or we can perfect any one, or we can follow all the 9 limbs of devotional service. One should not, however, mistakenly think that after annihilation of this present body, there is no body. This is the wrong conception. The living entity is unborn. It is not that he is manifest with the creation of the material body. On the other hand, it is true that the material body develops only by the desire of the living entity. The evolution of the material body is due to the desire. According to the desire, only the material body develops. So Jiva desires, Maya Devi facilitates, and Lord sanctions. So from the spirit soul, the material body comes into existence, generated from some living force. Now, since the living and being is eternal, he exists just like the air within the body. Air is within and without. Therefore, when the external covering of the material body is vanquished, it is not that the living spark is also finished. No, it still continues to exist. And by the direction of the Lord, because he is the ultimate benefactor, the living entity is awarded a special position as per one's qualification. The Lord is so kind that even if a devotee of the Lord cannot fulfill the complete course of devotional service, unalloyed and uncontaminated by material association, he is still given the chance in the next life. That's why I said that spiritual life is never lost. It never goes in vain. It continues life after life. And thus, immediately after relinquishing the present body, one achieves the next body. And this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 2.40. We can refer to that verse. In this connection, detailed information is also given by Srila Jiva Goswami in Bhagavad Samdharva, that the Jiva is never lost. So this way, Lord Brahma has guided Narad Muni on the science of Bhagavan. Okay. So now he is giving a very special instruction to Narad Muni. He has imparted that entire knowledge to Narad Muni, but now Brahma has some expectations. He says, Soyam hi abhigitastata Bhagavan Vishwabhavana Samasena Harer Nanyat Anyasmat Sat Asat Chayat. Somebody can read the translation.
Hare Krishna. My dear son, I have now explained in brief the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is creator of the manifested worlds. Without him, Hari, the Lord, there are no other causes of phenomenal and nominal existences.
Thank you, Mataji. So the Lord says, Brahmaji is now saying, he's saying that, see, I have described you in summary, everything. What Sat means, what Asat means. Sat is actually the effect, Asat is the cause. And I have explained you about the Supreme Lord, about the Jivas. All of this is one. There is nothing beyond the Supreme Lord. Even the Shaktis that the Supreme Lord possesses is also non-different from the Supreme Lord. Shakti is coming from whom? From Shaktiman. They are coming from the Lord himself. So the Lord may be indifferent to these two Shaktis, Tatasya Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, but actually it is all the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada writes in the purport, since we generally have the experience of the temporary material world and conditioned souls trying to lord it over the material worlds, Brahmaji explained to Narad Dev that this temporary world is the work of the Bahiranga Shakti of the Supreme Lord, the external potency. And the conditioned souls who are struggling are the marginal potency or the Tatastha Shakti. There is no cause for these phenomenal activities, but him, Hari, the Supreme Lord, is the primary cause of all the causes. This does not mean, however, that the Lord himself is distributed impersonally. He is aloof from all these interactions. The Supreme Lord is aloof. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina matsthani sarva bhutani nacham tesha vasthita. The Supreme Lord himself declares this in the Bhagavad Gita, that I, with my unmanifested form, I prevail in this entire universe. All beings are in me only, but it's not that I am in them. I am aloof from everything. One should not deprecate the Supreme Lord for the creation of this material world. This is a very important paragraph, what Prabhupada writes, because normally this question is asked by non-devotees, I should say, those who are still not categorized as devotees. They ask this, that why, if the Supreme Lord is so eager to call everybody back home, back to Godhead, then what was the need for creating this material jagat? What was the need for creating this material world and illusioning every jiva so that the jiva is always illusion considering himself to be the Ishvara? This way the jiva will become more and more entangled. If the Lord is so merciful and he's so kind and he really wants all the jivas to come back to him, why to create such place where the jivas are put into illusion? So they actually blame the Supreme Lord, that it's the fault of the Supreme Lord that he has created this illusory world and he has kept all the jivas into illusion. And on the other hand, he is proclaiming that please surrender unto me and come back to me. So Prabhupada, he writes this, that one should not deprecate the Supreme Lord for the creation of this material world. Just as one should not blame the king for creating a prison house in the government. Can we blame a king? No, it is a mandatory thing. So this material world is also a kind of a prison house. It is a necessary institution for the government establishment for those who are disobedient to the laws of the government. They are put behind the bars. Why? Because they don't follow the rules and regulations that are set by the court of law. Similarly, the material world full of miseries is a temporary creation of the Lord for those who have forgotten him, and they are trying to lord it over with some false manifestation. He, however, is always anxious to get home all the fallen souls. See, that is why the Supreme Lord, through his authoritative scriptures, through his shastras, through his bona fide representatives, through his bhaktas, through his personal incarnations, through his avatars, he is there. Why he is doing all this? To claim back the fallen souls. That's the only sole purpose of the Supreme Lord, to have these shastras, to have these spiritual masters. He himself comes in various avatars, but his sole business is to claim the fallen souls back home, back to God. That is, since he has no direct attachment to this material world, he is not to be blamed for its creation. So this material world is created by the Supreme Lord only, just like the prison house is created by the king. But should the king be blamed for this? No, it is a mandatory thing. It is needed for those who are not following the rules and regulations. And that is why this material world is created. Krishna doesn't want anyone to love him forcefully. He says that wholeheartedly the jiva should surrender and should love me. And that's the reason the Supreme Lord says that even if you have an iota of desire to separately enjoy from me, then please, this is the place. You go ahead, fulfill all your desires. And one day when you will become frustrated of all your desires, of all your kamanas, then that day you will acknowledge my presence and you will surrender. And Krishna, he's saying that he is prashanta, he's very peaceful as Paramatma in the heart. And he is waiting for that moment for the jiva to turn back to him and say, Krishna, I am yours and you are mine. He is waiting and he say, I'll wait for that moment till eternity. And that is why he is accompanying that jiva in every species of life. Even if a soul takes birth as a worm in a stool of a hog, Paramatma is still there to accompany him, so that in any form that jiva, that soul can realize the presence of Paramatma and can surrender unto that Paramatma and say that I am yours. So Krishna is waiting for this. That please, once that jiva says that Krishna, I'm yours and you are mine, then Krishna says, I will take the ropes of that chariot in my hand. I will become the chariot driver. I will drive the chariot, the body, as per my will. Therefore, the devotees say that this body also doesn't belong to us. The devotee says this body is also, the body is also belongs to the Supreme Lord. Na chao, na chao, na chao se mate. That's the only thing. Prabhupada writes, make me dance, make me dance, make me dance as you like. Oh Krishna, I am 100% yours. And that is what is surrender. That is what is Sharanagati. So now Brahmaji is telling Narada, "Oh Narada, I have explained to you everything. Idam bhagavatam nama yanme bhagavatoditam sangraho yam vibhutanam evam eto vipuli. Oh Narada, I have explained you everything. I have explained you this entire work which is known as Bhagavatam, Idam Bhagavatam Nama. And this is not my own mental speculation. Yanme Bhagavato Ditam. Just like the Supreme Lord has spoken to me in nutshell in few verses, the same thing I have explained to you. The collection of Lord's Vibhuti, Sangraho Yam Vibhutanam. I have explained this to you as it is. As I got the knowledge from the Supreme Lord, I imparted that knowledge unto you. Tvam etad vipuli kuru. Now it's you who has to take up this duty that you should distribute this knowledge to everything. So the Supreme Lord gave this knowledge to Brahmaji. Brahmaji gave to Narada Muni, and now he is expecting Narada Muni to distribute this knowledge of Bhagavatam to everybody. And Narada, he took Vyasadeva as the perfect candidate to explain this entire Bhagavad. So from Narada, it goes to Vyasadeva. Somebody can read the translation.
O Narada, this science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam, was spoken to me in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it was spoken as the accumulation of his diverse potencies. Please expand this science yourself. Hare Krishna.
So here Brahmaji is saying that I have given you the summary of entire Srimad Bhagavatam as it was spoken by the Supreme Lord, who explained me not only about himself, but his diverse potencies also, along with the energies of Maya. So we have already talked this, that knowing about the Supreme Lord means knowing also about the energies of the Supreme Lord. Now he is saying, now you please expand this knowledge. I have given you in a sutra form. Now you have to expand. The Bhagavatam in a nutshell was spoken by the Supreme Lord in about half a dozen verses, which appear ahead, we will see in the 9th chapter following. That how the Srimad Bhagavatam was in nutshell spoken to Brahmaji, which is known as Chaturshloki Bhagavatam. Brahmaji received the science of Godhead from the Lord directly and handed over to Narad Muni, who in turn will hand over to Vyasadeva. So the transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Lord is not a mental speculation by some mundane wranglers, but it is uncontaminated, it is eternal, it is perfect knowledge, it is beyond the jurisdiction of material modes. But what kind of knowledge? That knowledge which is coming in a disciplic succession. Only that knowledge is uncontaminated, it is eternal, and it is beyond the material modes. The Bhagavad Puran is therefore the direct incarnation of the Supreme Lord in the form of sound vibration. Okay? And one should receive this transcendental knowledge only through the bona fide Lord, representative of the Lord in the chain of disciplic succession from Lord to Brahmaji, from Brahma to Narada, Narada to Vyasa, Vyasa the Sukadeva Goswami, and from Sukadeva Goswami to Sutta Goswami. This is the ripened fruit of the Vedic tree that drops from one hand to another without being broken by falling suddenly from the high branch down to the earth. Therefore, unless one hears the science of Godhead from a bona fide representative of the Lord, as above mentioned, it is very difficult to understand the science of God. It should be therefore never heard from any professional Bhagavatam reciters who earn their livelihood by gratifying the senses of the audience. So again, Prabhupada is saying, oh, Vaishnava Mukharavan, we should never hear Bhagavatam from a mouth of an Vaishnava. Yes, Bhagavatam itself is very pure because it talks about the Supreme Lord and his devotees. And it is compared to be like a milk, which is also very, very nourishing to the body. But imagine if that milk is touched by the serpent, and that same milk which is giving nourishment to the body will induce poison in the body. And finally, the person dies. Similarly, this Bhagavatam is very, very nourishing to the soul. It is very, very purifying. But if we hear this Bhagavatam from such professional reciters who recites Bhagavatam, but for their own personal gain, they earn their livelihood. This is not the profession. Speaking Bhagavatam is not a profession, it is a service. It is a high-class devotional service which has to be done unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. It is not for one's own livelihood that we can earn and we can fill up our own bellies and bags. No, that is not the purpose. It's a high-class service that one achieves when somebody becomes a Bhagavatam reciter. So one gets a high responsibility who sits on that Vyasasana. So therefore, we should be very, very particular that whatever we are speaking is in alignment to the disciplic chain, the disciplic succession. If somebody hears from such professional reciters, then it is just like drinking poison. And with that, they are committing spiritual suicide. No, of course, it's not the poison which can destroy the material body, but it is the poison that destroys one's spiritual body, which is more dangerous than drinking the poison that destroys the material body. Okay? So one should be very, very careful. We should hear only from those who are imparting this knowledge with the right mood, with the right intention, with the right motive, and that too and only in the service of the Lord. No other agenda. Yatha harau bhagavati nirnam bhaktir bhavishyati sarvatmani akhiladare iti sankalpa varnaya. So now Brahmaji is telling to Narad Muni that you make this sankalpa, that you should speak Bhagavatam in such a way that you bring out the devotion to Lord Hari. You should bring out the personal form of the Supreme Lord, the Bhagavan form of the Supreme Lord. So that's how you should distribute. You should follow it and you should distribute it. Now, you can distribute in many ways, but Brahmaji warns Narad Muni that you should distribute only in one way, by which you arise devotion in the heart of all the Kali Yuga Jivas. Okay, there should be no other agenda when you speak Bhagavatam. Somebody can read the translation.
Please describe the signs of Godhead determination and in a manner by which it will be quite possible for the human being to develop transcendental devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. Hari, the super soul of every living being and the summum bonum source of all energies. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So Prabhupada writes that Srimad Bhagavatam is the philosophy of devotional service and the scientific presentation of man's relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prior to the age of Kali, there was no need for such a book of knowledge to know the Lord and his energies. But with the beginning of Kali, what happened? The human society became gradually sinful. They started engaging in illegitimate connection with women, intoxication, gambling, and unnecessary slaughtering the animals. Because of these basic sinful acts, man gradually became forgetful of his eternal relationship for the Lord. And therefore, they became blind, so to speak, of their ultimate goal of life, which is Krishna Prem. And this goal is not to pass a life of irresponsibility like the animals indulge. No, this is the life of highly responsible. This is the human life we are getting. So let's not waste this human life and pass this human life just like animals do. Animals have no choice. For them, the law of karma doesn't work. For them, they just only thing is evolution. So they have to pass their life in eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. But after getting this human form of life, let's not waste this human form of life in engaging those animalistic life. No, we should not do this. For a blind man, society, for such a blind man, society is in the darkness of ignorance. And this Srimad Bhagavatam is a torchlight. It is the one. Nashtadrisham esha punarko dhunadito. This Quran has arisen for those who are blind, so that this Quran can give this right light, and they can attract the mind of prema by prema, and the Lord gives himself to that person. As it's already explained, Srimad Bhagavatam is so scientifically presented that any sincere student of this great science will be able to understand the science of God, provided they hear from a bona fide speaker. Everyone is hankering after happiness in this life, in this age. The members of human society, blind as they are, do not have proper vision that the personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all happiness. And this vision is provided by Srimad Bhagavatam. He is the ultimate source of everything. Janmadasya yataha. Happiness is complete perfection without hindrance and can be achieved only by our devotional relationship with him. So Narada is therefore requested that to present this science with determination and a good plan. Narada was never advised to preach the principles of Bhagavatam to earn a livelihood. He was ordered by his spiritual master to take the matter very seriously in a missionary spirit. It's a mission, and we all belong to Chaitanya's mission. So we all have to become preachers, and we all have to distribute this science of knowledge, this science of transcendental knowledge to everybody. And how? Yatha harau bhagavati. It has to be given so that the desire for devotional service arise in the heart. They can understand that Bhagavan feature of the Supreme Lord. Hari refers to Yatha Harau Bhagavati. Harau refers to the Supreme Lord. So this Hari is also the Supreme Lord. And what is this Harau means? This Harau means that he attracts the mind by prema and he takes away anything that is inauspicious. Hari Shabde Nana Artha Dui Mukhyatam Sarva Amangala Hare Prema Diya Hareman. So yes, the Hari Shabda has many meanings. Nana Artha, it has many meanings. But two meanings are the main meanings that are being described in this verse. The first is Sarva Amangal Hare. It takes away all the inauspiciousness and Prema Diya and gives Prem Dhan. Otherwise, the word Hari has many meanings. One of the meaning of Hari is lion, Narahari, Gaurahari. It has many meanings. Okay, so text 52 we have completed. Now text 53, the last verse. Mayam varnayato, Mayam varnayato musha ishvaranyo amodata shunvanta shraddhaya nityam mayayatma namuhyati. Somebody can read the translation.
The Lord's activities. Mataji, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mataji, it's okay.
The Lord's activities in association with his different energies should be described, appreciated, and heard in accordance with the teachings of the Supreme Lord. If this is done regularly with devotion and respect, one is sure to get out of the illusory energy of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Nisha Mataji. So now the question comes that yes, Narad Muni is being advised by Brahmaji to distribute the knowledge of Bhagavatam in such a way that it gives rise to bhakti in all the living entities. And this bhakti is what? This bhakti is about hearing and chanting about the glories of the Supreme Lord, about understanding the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Like if somebody is describing Govardhan Leela or Mridbhakshan Leela or Damodar Leela, then this is all what? This is all glorification of the Supreme Lord. This is Krishna's Leela. And this will definitely give rise to bhakti in the hearts of all the living entities. But then the question comes that what if somebody talks about Maya in relation with that Lord? Then that is not bhakti. Then Brahmaji says that actually that is also bhakti. When we talk about Maya, but we are talking about that Maya in relationship with the Lord. That how the Supreme Lord, as a Purusha avatar, he deals with the Shakti, deals with the Maya Shakti. Should that be described or not? So yes, that should also be described, but it should be described only in connection with the Supreme Lord. The energy is non-different from energetic. Energy is coming from that energetic only. So if somebody has to talk about Maya, then that Maya has to be talked in relationship with the Supreme Lord. Just like Krishna says, Daivi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Durattaya. Krishna proclaims that this Maya is divine. Don't consider that Maya Shakti is some material or is ordinary. No, she is divine. Devi Esha Gunamai, she is made up of those material modes. Mama Maya, and Krishna says it's my Maya. If Krishna is proclaiming that this Maya belongs to me, then talking about that Maya in relationship with the Supreme Lord is also considered to be bhakti. The science of learning a subject matter seriously is different from the sentiments of fanatics. Fanatics or fools may consider the Lord's activities in relationship with external energy to be useless for them. And they may falsely claim to be of higher participants in the internal energy of the Lord. But factually, the Lord's activities in relationship with external energy and internal energy are equally good. If somebody is talking about Krishna with his Yogamaya Shakti of lifting up Govardhan hill, eating mud, showing Virat Roop to Mother Yashoda in his mouth, all what is this? This is the Yogamaya Shakti, or Krishna performing Rasa Leela, or Krishna enjoying the pastimes with all the Gopas and the Gopis. Yes, this is all comes under the jurisdiction of Yogamaya Shakti. So if somebody says, well, I'm only interested in this. No, Krishna also has his Bahiranga Shakti. And we should know that how Krishna interacts with this Maya and creates this Bhautik Jagat, this material world. So that is also devotional service. That is why Prabhupada says, study the 9 cantos first and then jump over to the 10th canto. 10th canto talks only about the sweetness of the Lord. But you can understand the sweetness of the Lord once you know the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. And that supremacy is described in the first 9 cantos, where it is described how the Supreme Lord, as Paramatma, as Bhagavan, as Brahman, is there, is prevailing everywhere. And this Bhagavan is the one who is the maintainer, the creator, the annihilator of this entire energy, the universal forms. The universes, sorry. So they are equally good. On the other hand, those who are not completely free from the clutches of Lord's external energy should devoutly hear regularly about the activities of the Lord in relation with his Bahiranga Shakti. They should not foolishly jump onto the Rasalila pastimes. The chief reciters of Bhagavatam are very enthusiastic about the activities of the Lord with his internal potency. And the pseudo devotees, also absorbed in material sense enjoyment, simply falsely jump to the stage of liberated souls, and thus they fall down deeply into the clutches of external energy. They become sahajyas. So we should be very, very careful that first we have to understand the supremacy of the Lord, and then we come to the sweetness of the Lord. Some of them think that to hear the pastimes of the Lord with the gopis or his pastime lifting Govardhan, they'll have nothing to do with the Lord's plenary expansions as the Purusha avatars and their pastimes of creation, maintenance, or annihilation in the material world. But a pure devotee knows that there is no difference between the pastimes of the Lord, either in Rasalila or in creation, maintenance, or destruction of the material world. There is no difference. It's the same Lord. Rather, the descriptions of such activities of the Lord as Purushavataras are specially meant for persons who are in the clutches of the external energy. This is the wrong understanding. One should think that no, there is no difference. Topics like the Lasa Leela are meant for the liberated souls. They are not meant for the conditioned souls. If the conditioned souls jump onto the Rasa Leela pastimes, they will get the wrong understanding. They will get the wrong meaning. They will equate the pastimes of Rasa Leela with the mundane boy and girl relationship, which will become a great offense to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. The conditioned souls, therefore, must hear with appreciation and devotion the pastimes of the Supreme Lord in relation with the external energy, how he interacts, how Mahatattva comes, how Ahankar comes, then how all the 24 planet or the 24 limbs, not the limbs, rather the 24 objects, they come into being, the indriyas, they come into being. One should first know about this. One should know, only then we will have the faith in the internal pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, we'll commit an offense. A conditioned soul should not imitate the activities of the liberated souls. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya never indulged in hearing the Ras Leela with the ordinary men. He discussed these great pastimes only with his confidential devotees. He discussed the works of Chandidas and Vidyapati only with his confidential devotees like Sarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Rai. But in general, Mahaprabhu's instruction is to become humble and distribute this knowledge and acknowledge the supremacy of the Lord. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Science of God, the first 9 cantos prepare the ground for hearing the 10th canto. Therefore, we should study the 9 cantos properly in a systematic way. A pure devotee of the Lord, therefore, must begin reading or hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from the very beginning and not directly jump onto the 10th canto. We have several times been requested by some so-called devotees to take up the 10th canto immediately, but we have refrained from such an action because we wish to present Srimad Bhagavatam not as a sensuous understanding for the conditioned souls. This is forbidden by such authorities as Sri Brahmaji. Even Brahmaji is saying that by reading and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam as a scientific presentation, the conditioned souls will gradually be promoted to the higher status of transcendental knowledge after being freed from the illusory energy based on sense enjoyment. So yes, it's a gradual process. It's a process by which you have to really take steps one by one, and you have to gradually progress. You just cannot expect that in a flick of a second that transcendental knowledge is there and you jump onto the intimate pastimes of the Supreme Lord without having the real knowledge of Krishna's greatness. So we should know about Krishna's greatness before his sweetness. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, 7th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Schedule Incarnations with Specific Functions. So we end it here, and finally Narad Muni is given this instruction by Brahmaji. Therefore Narad Muni came and explained this knowledge to Vyasadeva. It's not that Narad Muni came on his own and he explained this knowledge to Vyasadeva, but he was himself given this instruction. And this is the instruction that he took up as his life and soul, and he distributed this knowledge. So when somebody wants to preach, it has to be given. It has to come from one's spiritual master. Only then one should engage in this preaching services. So we will stop here. Thank you all so much. With this, we ended the 7th chapter. And coming Tuesday, we'll begin with chapter number 8, that is questions by King Parikshit. So let's see if we have any. I'm seeing lots of verses quoted by Prahladananda Guru Prabhu and Sunil Prabhu. Thank you so much. Yes, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for such a wonderful class, Master. This was very, very nice. But I have one small clarification, Mataji. When I read this Bhagavatam again and again by Prabhupada and his purpose, I somehow believe that he himself is some kind of incarnation of Narada Muni. Is somewhere reference like that is there, Mataji?
No, actually, Srila Prabhupada was once asked, because before Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, their real identities were disclosed. Like we know that how Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was Nayan Manjari in the spiritual world, and how Gaur Kishore Das Babaji is Guna Manjari, then how Bhakti Vinod Thakur is Kamala Manjari. So we are in that Manjari Sampradaya because all our acharyas have been Manjaris and their identity have been disclosed. But when Prabhupada was asked, Prabhupada said that I don't want to disclose my identity. If I disclose, you all will faint. So the point is, yes, Prabhupada didn't disclose his identity, but seeing, as you said, seeing his work, we can make out that he was also an eternal associate of the Supreme Lord, who was personally sent by the Supreme Lord to carry out his missionary activities. So yes, he is personally sent. He is the representative of the Lord, but his real identity is not yet disclosed.
So close to Narada Muni it should be. Why? Because the scientific presentation is extraordinary, Mataji.
That's true.
Thank you, Mataji. That is what I want to know. Because whenever they all have written in, as you said, in a style, like Manjaris are very close to Bhagavan and their style is different. Here it is more, for this age, this is more like scientific age, and exactly he writes it in such a way, even any scientist who read it very carefully, they will really enjoy it, Mataji. I think that is what I was thinking, whether he's some close associate of Narada.
He's an associate of the Supreme Lord for sure. Narad Muni is still existing. Right? And, yeah. So he's definitely...
Because the mission was given to Narada Muni to take it carefully in a scientific way to public, no, Mataji?
Actually, Sri Lochandas Thakur describes that Srila Prabhupada is the Senapati Bhakta.
Oh, okay.
He is the main soldier of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's army. Yes, he has been delegated this service to distribute this knowledge far and wide. But his real identity, let's not speculate, but yes, definitely he is an eternal associate of the Supreme Lord.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat pranams. Thank you.
Okay, Dandavat pranams. Yes, Sadamani Sundari Mataji. Sadamani Mataji.
47 in the
Right. 47, right?
Can you hear me, Mataji?
Now I can hear you. Verse number 47, you said. I'm just pulling out verse number 47.
Yes, Mataji. The last 3-4 lines, Mataji. And such satisfaction of the senses is equally shared by the transcendental reciprocators. So transcendental reciprocators here, devotees are meant, no, Mataji?
The senses in the material world as such as in every way the authorities have recommended purification of the senses from the material. In the material world, the senses are manipulated for individual and personal satisfaction, whereas in the spiritual world, the senses are properly used for the purpose for which they are originally meant. Rishikena Rishikesha, namely the satisfaction. Such sensual activities are natural and therefore sense gratification there is uninterrupted and unbroken by material contamination because the senses are spiritually purified. They are talking about the spiritual world. And such satisfaction of the senses is equally shared by the transcendental reciprocators. Yes, they are talking about the devotees who are there in the spiritual world. Since the activities are unlimited and constantly increasing, there is no scope for material attempts or artificial arrangements. Such happiness of transcendental quality is called Brahma Saukyam, which will be clearly described in the 5th canto. Yes, so what's your question?
So I was asking Mataji, the transcendental reciprocators are devotees, no, Mataji?
Yeah.
And equally shared, such satisfaction of the senses is equally shared. So what is this, Mataji, equally shared? by the devotees.
And such satisfaction of the senses means all the devotees in the spiritual world, they are simply enjoying. They are also doing sense gratification in the spiritual world. But that sense gratification is transcendental sense gratification. See, what Prabhupada is saying, that senses, their job is to get satisfied. Okay. But when they are in the material world, when we try to satisfy the senses, it's not possible. Because the more we try to satisfy, the more they hanker to get more and more satisfied. So he's saying that the best way to satisfy your senses is to engage them in spiritual services. When you serve the master of the senses, then your senses are gratified fully. Then there is no more such hankering. And that is there in the spiritual world. Because in the spiritual world also, the devotees, they are satisfying their senses. But how they are satisfying? They are satisfying their senses by serving the Supreme Lord. So they are equally sharing the satisfaction of the senses. Everybody is engaged in the service of the Lord, and everybody's senses are equally satisfied because they are engaged in the service of the Lord.
Okay, then I was thinking, Mataji, you please correct me if I'm wrong. I was thinking like whichever mellow devotee is, like Hanumanji is an Dasya, and Arjun is in Sakhya. So their senses are equally satisfied. Is this correct?
Yeah, definitely. Their senses are equally satisfied. There is no gradation, there is no degree that one is higher and one is lower. They're equally satisfied in their eternal position.
So 100% bliss for everyone.
Yeah, 100% bliss. And that's what, and not only that, he says, yes, there is sukh even in Brahman also. Don't think that Brahman is some painful place. It's Ananda there also. But that Ananda is not full Ananda. And then I'll share a simple example. You go to a temple, you are a new person, you don't know anything about what's happening in the temple. And now I'm not about talking about you, but imagine a person who is a very new and he goes to the temple. And what he sees, he reaches during the Bhoga Arti time, and the Bhoga is being offered. So what that person sees is that the curtains are closed and something is offered behind that curtain. He talks to the pujari when the pujari comes out, and he comes to know that the Bhoga is being offered, and after half an hour, the curtains will be opened. So now this person knows that this bhoga is being offered means some relishable dishes are offered. So he gets some kind of sukh, that yes, something is being offered. Now his happiness is little less than the happiness that is experienced by that pujari who is himself making the plate and offering it to the Supreme Lord. Agree? His happiness, the happiness of pujari, is still less than the person who cooks for the Supreme Lord. He is personally cooking for the Supreme Lord and he is making plate, and pujari is simply taking the plate and offering it to the Supreme Lord. But the person who is cooking, his happiness is greater than that of the pujari, than that of the person who has this knowledge that the Lord is enjoying different preparations. Now, the highest sukh is experienced by that person who, after when the prasad comes out, relish the prasadam. He tastes the prasadam. So, all the knowledge about the Supreme Lord are good, but one who gets the reciprocation with the Supreme Lord in different mellow, well, that is the highest. That's how we should try to understand. Right?
Yeah, very beautiful example, Mataji. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Praladananda Prabhu.
In this connection, there is an episode which took place at Long Beach Temple in California. There was one guy who was dealing with drugs, LSD, right? And he was the boss. And many of his associates started becoming Prabhupada's disciples. become bhaktas like that. So one day he came and asked Prabhupada, we are festivals in California, that what are you giving that these people are, my people are coming and becoming your devotees? What kind of pleasure they are getting? Then Prabhupada Maharaj said, what business you are in? He says, we are distributing LSDs, the drugs like that. And Prabhupada says, they are getting pleasure. Just imagine that the whole ocean of LSD is there, and they are enjoying that full ocean of LSD, not little LSD like that. So he was saying that transcendental pleasure is beyond the sensual, material, sensual pleasure. It is such a vast kind of pleasure. So this is what little input I wanted to put like that. Thank you.
Well, so LSDs was distributed. Loving spiritual devotional service was distributed by Prabhupada, and everybody became intoxicated with that transcendental LSDs. Thank you. Thank you.
LSD, and this is LDS, loving devotional service.
Now we can say LSD, loving service and devotion.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right? Transcendental LSD. Yes, Sunil Prabhu, please go ahead.
Mataji, I asked question in chat. Can you check sorry about it?
Okay, I can see your chat question. And you said that we will get frustrated one day in this material world, but I heard even if a living entity becomes a hog, it doesn't give up that enjoyment stool or like Indra. So how do we understand this? Yes, one day we will definitely become frustrated, no matter how much we enjoy, but that day will definitely come when we become frustrated. And we should wait. See, in the animal life, all the 8,400,000 species, out of those, 8 million species is the species for only passing on their life in eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. So no such expectation can be held with such 8 million species. But out of those 400,000 species of life is the humans, where that expectation is because they have been imparted the right intelligence to understand the spiritual science. So when somebody will get that human form of life after wandering into these 14 planetary systems from one species to another, then this human form of life out of one's good fortune, one's, Sukriti, Ajnat Sukriti, one will definitely come in touch with the pure devotee of that Lord. And that pure devotee of the Lord will make that Jiva realize that you have been wasting your life for time immemorial. Now is the time to surrender. And then that Jiva will realize that, yes, I have been frustrated. Like before I coming into Krishna consciousness was simply enjoying, right? Simply enjoying the life in this human form of life. But was it the real enjoyment? No, I had simply wasted my 30, 40 years of life of not coming into Krishna consciousness. So, but when by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, I got in connection with my spiritual master made me realize that no, you have simply wasted your life and now is the time that you have to become Krishna conscious. So that stage of frustration came at that moment. Before that, I was also enjoying. But the spiritual master made me realize that no, this was simply wastage of life. And so the frustration come that, oh, what I have done. I have simply wasted my life. So that's what the frustration we are talking about. And that will come only and only in the human form of life when somebody comes in the contact of the pure devotee of the Lord. Otherwise, this frustration will never come because this enjoyment is endless. And in whatever species of the life they are in, they will simply enjoy. That's how we have to understand. Yes, Prabhu? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, dear devotees. So we can stop here. Thank you so much for your association. Vancha kalpatarubhischa kripasintu vaivaccha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, ग्रंथ राज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, all the assembled Vaishnavas की जय. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.